Hello and welcome to Unwind Flow Yoga. I'm Amanda and I'll be guiding you through this short hand practice focusing on the upper body. For today's class, we're really going to be targeting around our rib cage, in particular the side of our rib cage. So into our lats on the back side and into the pecs on the front, and hopefully a little bit of relaxation mixed in. So we're going to start our practice in child's pose. So when you're ready, make your way there. For today's class, you'll need at least one blanket or towel, and if you have yoga blocks, grab them because we might use them for a pose depending on your proportions. So you can use your blanket right away to cushion the knees a little bit as we come into child's pose. Extend the arms forward, knees can be wide, take the forehead down towards the mat. I'm not going to take my forehead all the way down for sound quality, but yours can meet the mat, and if it doesn't meet it, you can use that rolled up blanket or towel, or maybe even stack the palms here and rest the forehead down. Taking a few moments to settle into our practice. Drawing the breath into the nose and out through the nose. And the areas that we'll be focusing on today are related to rib cage and our breathing. So as we start here in child's pose, as you breathe in, maybe noticing that sense of compression of the torso and the abdomen on the legs. And then exhale, soften, maybe chest falls a little bit closer down towards the floor. See what you can notice about your breath. Not only the breath traveling in and out through the body, but also these physical changes as we breathe in and out. This will be helpful as we transition into our poses and we can notice how these sensations change. Take another breath in. Exhale and release. And then from here, we'll take both arms and walk them over to the left side of our mat. And for now, let's keep the arms shoulder distance apart. So the fingertips are still wide from each other. And then as we reach the fingertips forward, maybe the right fingers crawl a little bit further away as the right sitting bone sinks back a little bit closer towards the right heel. Getting this sensation of stretch along the right side of the body in particular. And then maybe even play around with this a little bit. See what happens if you try to take your right shoulder a little bit closer down towards the mat. Maybe the left shoulder. You're noticing how you can't do both of those at the same time now that we're asymmetrical. Taking another breath in, exhale, and then inhale, slowly walk back through center, find that center line, and then crawl yourself over to the right side of your mat. And same setup here, left fingers reach a little bit further away, left shin bone back a little closer, keeping the arms still shoulder distance apart. Maybe find the shoulders wiggling around in space to find an orientation that feels meaningful for you to get a stretch along the left side body in particular. And then maybe on the side, reconnect to your breath. Notice a little bit more of that compression on the right thigh this time as you breathe in. On that next breath in, slowly walk the hands back through center and pause there. And then as you're ready, slowly bring yourself up into a tabletop, and then we're going to lower all the way down onto the ground. So just take a moment here, stack the Stack the palms, bring the forehead down, and just take a moment to rest. Notice changes in the back body. And then for our next pose, we're going to work into the front body, into our pecs. So when you're ready here, we'll do our left side first. So we're going to take our left arm straight out in line with the shoulder. We don't want to be above the shoulder, we're just about in line. And then notice where the shoulder head here is away from the mat. See if you can drop it down a little bit. So just allow this to be soft. And then take the right hand underneath the right shoulder. And we're going to slowly roll onto the left side of our body. Maybe you roll all the way over to the side that you can kickstand this top leg. If not, the legs can be straight or bent, any orientation that might make sense for you. Hopefully as you rolled over, something seemed to feel natural. And then we'll just stay here. Recognizing in this one, we want to go slowly. We don't want to force into it at all. So if you need to back off at any time, all you need to do is roll a little bit out. No need to go any further than what feels like your natural stopping point there. And then once you've found your shape, see if you can tap back into the breath. Noticing how this orientation changes your connection to your breath, changes the experience of the breath. Noticing what happens if you breathe a little bit more fully into the left side. And maybe on a few rounds from now, I'll try the right side. Using the right hand to support yourself here so you feel stable. Take another breath in. Exhale, slowly release your way back, and then we'll pause through center. So stack the forearms once again, forehead down. Noticing the difference right side, left side. Allowing the stretch to land in the body. And then when you're ready, we'll do the same thing on our right. So take the right arm, straight out from the shoulder, and then tip the head of the shoulder forward towards the mat. And then left hand comes underneath the left shoulder, and then slowly start to roll onto your right side. Noticing if one side is tighter than the other side, that might be your experience like it is for me. And go slowly, take your time, no rush. Knowing we'll be here for a few minutes and we have time and space to notice what's happening in our pose. So when you're ready, you can bring that awareness back to the breath. Noticing this connection to the front of our rib cage. Noticing if we feel tension in this pose and that's impacting our breathing. Notice where you can smooth it out, where you can soften, where you can let go. Take another breath in. Exhale, let it go. And then as you inhale, slowly roll back onto the belly here. Stack the palms, forehead down. Taking a moment to notice that right side. And then let's notice both sides. Noticing changes in the front and back body. And then when you're ready, hands underneath the shoulders, press yourself up towards the tabletop pose. And from here, we'll come into puppy pose. And this is where we can use our props. So no props, I'll show you what this looks like first. So we're gonna come into tabletop, keeping our hips above the knee. So the lower half of the body is gonna stay the same. Our upper body is what's gonna change. So typically for puppy pose, we take a big step forward with the arms and drop the chest down towards the floor. For this one, we're gonna rest our elbows down and then bend the elbows back so our palms are together and the thumbs are reaching back towards the back of the neck. Hips are still high, chest is dropping down. So stay there if you've chosen that one. If you do have some supports, I'll show you what those look like now. So we can use our blanket. Same setup here, it's a little bit of a roll, and we rest our elbows down onto our blanket. This gives us more height, so it actually makes the pose a little bit more challenging there. Because we're lifting our elbows, our arms are a little bit higher. If you have your blanket, that's your option there. And then lastly, I'll show you with the blocks, which would be the most challenging variation. So you can keep your blocks on any height. I'll go with the lowest height because my blocks are thick. Once again, elbows down, so same setup, walking the elbows forward, chest is dropping down, and then we bring our palms together, thumbs towards the back of the neck. Whichever variation you've chosen, start to bring back in our awareness that we're working on today. Thinking about the breath, noticing how the breath has been impacted by our puppy pose, sort of half downward facing dog. And you'll walk the elbows a little bit further away, creating even more space in this very side body area. Small muscles, small connections of large muscles all happening in the area that we're stretching right now. Even though our chest is closed off here, you can feel space in your breathing. Maybe the breath shifts a little bit more into belly here, a little bit more of that diaphragmatic breathing. A few more breaths here. Notice what you can soften. Notice what you've pushed forward. See if you can take it back just a little bit. And then on that next inhale, slowly start to work your way out. And we'll make our way just into a seat for a moment. Any seated orientation that's comfortable for you. Just face the palms up. Noticing how this pose is landing in your body. Coming into our final pose here, before we come into Shavasana, we'll grab onto our blanket. One of my favorites to bring some awareness into the chest for our breathing. We're gonna roll it up into a tight cylinder here. And if you have a really thick blanket, you don't have to roll it up all the way. You can leave it with a little bit of a tail. Mine's on the thinner side, so I'm gonna roll it all the way. And we're gonna line up our roll with about this mid-back underneath the shoulder blades. So if you're wearing a sports bra or anything right now, it'll be just in line with the band of it. Otherwise, you can just mark this as underneath the shoulder blades. So we're gonna guess about where we're gonna land. So come onto the sitting bones and then gently roll yourself down. So you line up your blanket. If you lay down and you feel like the floor is too far for the head, you can always unroll your blanket a little bit to give less height. You want to feel supported in this pose. You don't want it to feel too challenging. And then we'll take our arms out into cactus to really accentuate this opening in the chest. And then option with the legs, knees can be bent or legs extended, whichever is most comfortable for you. The knees are bent, you can even knock the knees in towards each other for that extra sense of support. Bringing the awareness back to the breath. Notice how it feels to be in this open shape. Passive stretching here, chest opening. Noticing how our support supports our breath. This little bit of lift here helps the breath to become even more automatic. Getting exactly what we need from our breath. Take a moment to check in. Noticing if there's anything about your pose you can soften. That might mean closing down the eyes, releasing the jaw, allowing the teeth to unclench, softening the skin across the forehead. Noticing where the back of the head is resting on the floor. Take a moment to extend gratitude to yourself for making it to your mat today. Finding a little bit of time for you and your breath. Finding some stretches into these important muscles. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you again soon. Namaste.